Welcome back. President Biden in Rio de Janeiro today for the final day of the G-20 summit. It's the last time that he'll attend as commander-in-chief. Biden spoke about Ukraine yesterday for the first time since authorizing the use of U.S.-supplied long-range missiles to strike inside of Russia, while sitting across from Russia's foreign minister. Watch.
The United States strongly supports Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Everyone around this table, in my view, should as well.
The Kremlin warning that the move adds, quote, fuel to the fire, and that Russian lawmakers say it's, quote, a very big step toward the start of World War III. Joining me now is Fox News senior strategic analyst and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, great to see you as always. Welcome back. Your reaction?
Well, first of all, the fact that the Russians are claiming our response and the use of ATACMS actually limited to just the cursed area is some kind of escalation is laughable on the surface of it. I mean, just think of what has happened here. Certainly, Russia has received money and military capabilities from their allies, you know, China, Iran, and North Korea, and Ukraine has received much the same from their allies in terms of the United States, Europeans, and some other nations in the Eastern Pacific. But what has happened here? Another country has joined Russia in the fight to overthrow Ukraine. That is a major, major escalation, providing weapons that the Ukrainians already have to be able to use inside Russia is a mild response, a limited response. Russia has escalated here dramatically, similar to Italy joining the Nazi Germany in conquering all of Europe. The Russians have run this up, and I'm astounded that the Biden administration doesn't confront them over it and blast them for what has taken place, and the Europeans as well. They're escalating it. They're making it a more dangerous situation.
Yeah. So where does this go now? I mean, what does President Trump inherit here?
Well, he inherits a situation that should already been over. In other words, Biden never gave the Ukrainians all the wherewithal to win this war. They gave them enough not to lose it. And you can see it every single time with the moderation, even here. You know, he's going to let them have ATACMS, but you can only use it in one part of Russia. Every time there's restrictions, limitations, or not providing them the weapons when they need it. So he's got a situation on his hands that he probably shouldn't have had. I think what will happen here when he gets into it, he's going to find out he's dealing with a different Putin than what we were dealing with 4 years ago. What do I mean by that? Wartime commander now, his economy is on a war footing. He's absolutely determined and committed right now to still taking over all of Ukraine. That is his position, and he believes eventually the United States and the Europeans will take a knee on this. So to get him to the negotiating table, to have something favorable come out here, certainly for the Ukrainians, I believe what is happening now with ATACMS pounding into Russia gives the Ukrainians more leverage. And they may find when they do their analysis, they actually have to give them more leverage to be able to have a better position at the negotiating table. After all, we're not neutral in this. We want a favorable outcome for Ukraine. That's the fact of it. We're not negotiating or arbitrating a dispute between a union and a business here. This is something, certainly, we want to end the war on favorable terms to Ukraine. That should be the objective.
You know, it's interesting. You say, you know, he hasn't been giving Ukraine the real wherewithal to win. I feel like he's done the same thing with Israel for different reasons, right? I mean, sending Israel weapons, but then threatening that he's not going to send the rest of the weapons. It's sort of the same treatment for different reasons. And this reason being that he doesn't like Netanyahu and he doesn't like the way Netanyahu has fought back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Maria. I mean, the whole thing, you know, right from the beginning, an emotional, passionate support for Israel. We're all in here.
Yeah.
We'll help you no matter what it takes. And then micromanaging the war, disagreeing with operational details going into Rafah, holding back weapons systems, what happened as a result of that? That
Exactly.
frankly encourages Iran and their proxies.
It's got
that
worse.
favors them as opposed to being all in on this stuff.
Yeah, it's
absolutely right.
botched.
I think
It's botched.
President Trump coming in, he's already said where he is, Maria. He's going to be all in and support what Prime Minister Netanyahu absolutely needs on the ground.
Yeah, and you know
good
what?
things are
I believe
happening.
him. And I believe him when he says that. Okay.
Hezbollah looks like they want. Hezbollah looks like they want to go to a ceasefire, and Iran seems to be supporting it.
Exactly.
That is a good thing if this turns out to be the reality.
So all of a sudden, the adversaries get in line because they see strength. They see strength and they see leadership. I mean, look at this photo, General. Oh, my God. President Biden missed the G20 family photo yesterday. Reporters can be heard trying to find him. Listen to this. Watch.
Where was he? They're telling Biden. They're telling him to wait for Biden, guys. Oh, my God. Do you see him, Joe? Far left. Left to the left of the palm tree. Oh, my God. But they took it. Yep. He's right there. Joe, he's behind the palm tree right now.
So this is a little weird. I mean, all the reporters are saying, where's Biden? Where's Biden? They want to take the family photo at the G20. And then he's seen behind a palm tree. It comes after Biden stood awkwardly in the back corner of the APEC family photo as well over the weekend. Chinese President Xi Jinping there, dominating. He's in the front and center. The world leaders were ordered alphabetically, we're told, by country. But past APEC family photos show the U.S. front and center. And here you've got Biden all the way in the back, Xi Jinping in the front. A day later, Biden misses the family photo at the G20 standing behind a palm tree. General, wow.
Yeah, well, I think that's pretty shameful what the president of Peru did, putting our president in a back row, a second from the end of that row. Ridiculous on her part. Obviously making a statement to President Xi, having him on her right. Maybe, I'm only speculating, President Biden may have known what his position was on this photo in the G20 and didn't like it and didn't show up as a result of it. Who knows?
Yeah,
or maybe he just forgot.
So what did the president of Peru
sure.
do then, General? What the president of Peru made the decision to put Xi Jinping next to her?
Well, listen, the fact is that China has a relationship with every Latin American country. That's a fact. Throughout all of South America and in the Caribbean. Every single one of them. Economically. And why is that? So they can influence them geopolitically. The incoming administration is very much aware of this, Maria, and they want to return relationships in the Western Hemisphere the way it used to be. The United States has significant influence in the Western Hemisphere is what we want to have. Not to control them, to support them and have positive relationships economically as well as politically and militarily. That, I believe, is the path that the administration has already stated they're on. And going to reverse the Biden policy, which was pretty much ignoring them and letting China have its way. That's the
right.
You can see it here with Peru. She's standing next to him and obviously catering to him for what reason? For her own national interest. She knows the economic relationship with him is much greater than the economic relationship with the United States.
Yeah, that's a very interesting and important analysis. It's the dynamics behind what went on here are important to understand. So what do you think about the cabinet, General? President-elect Trump nominating Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, Tulsi Gabbard as National Intelligence Director, Steve Witkoff as Special Envoy to the Middle East. Talk to us about this cabinet, your thoughts on the pick so far, and how this could impact Iran policy and U.S. foreign policy as a whole, sir.
Well, listen, what's coming in on the national security foreign policy side are all people who clearly understand what has been the geopolitical paradigm change since President Trump has been in power 4 years ago. And that is China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea taking advantage of the United States. They believe our leadership is weak and believe we lack political will. They all understand that, and they know Iran has to be confronted. My judgment is right now all 4 countries are reacting to Trump just being elected and reassessing their position and what their goals are going to be in the Trump administration. I think that's already been accomplished, a step towards deterrence.